I'm Edwin Warfield. I'm the publisher of Citybiz. I'm excited today to interview Kramer and Jess.
Hi there.
Well, welcome to Baltimore. Tell us about your first impressions of our city.
I mean, it's cool. It's a really cool city. We just got here from San Diego, and I mean, San Diego's it's a great city, arguably. But when we get here and we realize how much history is in this city, you can just walk around downtown or in the historic districts, and you're like, this is like where like history actually happened. It's like you're taking part in a history book or something.
I think my favorite thing being here so far is the people. It's just a small town family community energy that I've never experienced before. And it's really magical. It's been a lot of fun being here.
Our first Purple Friday, we were like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
I really, honestly, I've never really cared to be interested in sports. And now from seeing how passionate everyone is in this city, I'm like obsessed.
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with football. My family's like, who are you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
How did this happen?
We'll have to share my interview with Ray Lewis later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, seriously.
I know who that is.
So tell us a little bit about your show. Tell us what listeners should expect when they tune into the Kramer and Jess show.
Sure. So we kind of base our show around three principles, which is number one, of course, the city of Baltimore. Anything that's going on, we want to be the center hub of it. We take honor in the fact that we're one of just a few local morning shows here in the city. A lot of shows, radio shows, get piped in from DC or from other surrounding cities. So the fact that we actually get to be here, we don't take that lightly. So we're really focused on what's going on in the city, how people are feeling, getting callers from this city, getting winners from this city, all put on the air. Second one is what, Jess?
Relationships.
Yeah.
So
you got it.
Yeah, I like relationships where we want to know what our listeners are experiencing, and also kind of our own relationships that we have in our personal lives, and also just us. I think it's really we almost kind of want it to be like a reality TV show. I mean, Kramer and I are very, very open people, almost to a fault, but we just want to share who we are and share all the experiences that we're going through, because everyone else is going through them too, but you feel less alone when you hear someone else going through the thing that you're experiencing in that time.
Yeah.
So tell us give a little more detail about yourselves, what you like, what interests you, and perhaps what people will learn about you personally.
Well, we're 10 years apart. So that already comes with a weird separation of just of age. I'm
Life
37.
experience.
She's 27.
Yeah.
So there's always this gap of like, she'll say something like the kids are into, and I'm like, what? And I'll be like, remember back in the day? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. But we're totally in two different stages of life. So I just got divorced, finalized about 3 years ago. So I'm kind of in this post-divorce life that I'm trying to figure out with dating, which is a whole different world than it was to 12 years ago when I was trying to date.
Especially during like a pandemic.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process. Now she has been dating a guy that she was long distance from.
Yeah, we've been together for 9 months, and I got this job, and we were living in 2 different cities, and he moved here with me. So this is the first time we're living together. This is the first time I'm in a serious, healthy relationship like this before, and also in a new city. So we have very, very different experiences right now that we just share with everyone on a daily basis.
We go through the same thing that everybody goes through. I think we just share it more. But when it comes to like personal life stuff, I love to get into, I'm big into like yoga and meditation and healthy eating and working out and stuff like that. She's not as so much that. She's the kind of the opposite of that.
I'm a healthy person too. I like to enjoy a cocktail every now and then.
Yeah. What would you do Saturday night, Jess?
I don't remember, but I knew I had fun though. Fells Point is a fun place.
So that's like where we differ, right?
Yeah, I'd say.
So you're coming to Baltimore from San Diego. Have you been able to identify the differences and some of the similarities of the two markets?
Yeah. He said markets, but immediately the difference is like, we just talked about this week, the term hun. Everyone used the term hun. So for us, it's like in San Diego, the way that guys say like dude and bro is the way that women say hun here. It's just like a different endearing term that I've learned that I am obsessed with. but there's a difference
We're
there.
just not quite sure how to use it yet. Like we know it's there. I haven't been brave enough to use the term hun.
I don't even think you are allowed to
Appropriate.
use it.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think a listener told us no one under the age of 45
Can actually
is allowed to say hun.
Edwin, help us out with this. Like, give us the background of hun.
Yeah, and Hunfest. Like that's a new thing we just learned about.
I asked you earlier that have you been to Hamden? You have to go to Cafe Hun, and that will give you a little bit of the history of Cafe Hun.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a cafe. Yeah, okay.
So that's part of Hamden is part, really is the epicenter of Hunville. So if you spend some time and it's been gentrified a little bit, so you won't. But go to Cafe Hun, and you'll have some understanding of the history.
Need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely. But
Or watch a John Waters movie.
Yes.
Same thing. Yeah. Same effect.
All of his movies were filmed here, right?
Yeah, watch Polyester or any of John Waters' movies. You'll have an idea of where HUD comes from.
Okay.
But I think between the two cities, like we talked about earlier, the city has such a pride in itself. Like everyone it's like all hands on deck kind of thing. The people here have been so nice, which I haven't really experienced in a city since I lived in probably Savannah, Georgia, like in a smaller city where it's just like there's just fewer people. But for being such a big city, you still get that small town vibe here. Everyone still feels pretty connected for as big as the city is.
We didn't expect to feel at home this soon, which has been really, really helpful and like nice. I think I think it's always scary going somewhere new, but just the way that it's been, it's like it's weird. It's almost like we've been here forever. And I know there's a lot of things that we don't know, but it feels so comfortable so soon, which is really, really amazing.
And I guess the other description for Baltimore is Smaltimore. Once you've been here enough time.
I was talking about my cable guy just sharing a story, and someone was listening. She's like, I dated him in high school. Here's his number. Do you guys want to call him? And I said, yeah.
And we got him on the radio.
That's never happened before. All I said was Chris from PA. And she's like, oh, I know who that is. He went to the school, and this was my boyfriend.
We were like, what? Yeah. So we've actually kind of turned it into a radio segment from time to time. Like there's a story in the news right now about a 102-year-old woman named Millie, who is a vet, and she just jumped out of a plane, just went skydiving for the first time at 102.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's Smaltimore. There's got to be somebody that knows her. And of course, we got connected to her just by saying who knows her. Yeah. So it's cool that way. So
tell us a little bit about building an audience. Obviously, and your listeners, how are you going to build your audience and develop a relationship with Baltimore?
It's tougher right now because obviously, the old school day, well, by old school, I mean anything before March of this year, you could go set up at different events and plan things and to meet people
face to face.
This is a lot more challenging because we don't really get the same luxury that we had before.
Yeah.
There's no events going on. There's nowhere to really meet up, and we're not really trying to encourage people to meet up either. So a lot of things we're doing via social media. We're asking people to follow us on social media, and we're going to follow them back and just to kind of get to know each other that way until we can do it face to face.
Yeah, and we like to say that we're more than a radio show. Our show has like a 360 dynamic where yes, you can listen to us when you're in your car, but we also have an uncensored podcast where it's a completely different, a whole different world of who we are as people. And then we're constantly showing content on Facebook and Instagram and a bunch of other platforms. So because it's also a different experience when you can see us and see our facial expressions, because you get a different sense of who we are when you see us speaking, and it's more intimate than just listening to us from wherever you are, whether in your car or listening on, the radio.com app. So we just try to give you as much content as we can and wherever we can. We just feel like it's changed. You can't really just be good at radio. You can't just have a radio show anymore. You've got to be able to be everywhere because everybody else is everywhere, like it used to be, you'd wake up and you'd have your alarm set to the radio station. You drive in, listen to the radio station. I mean, it's not that way anymore. Everything's, right here. Especially because people aren't, in their cars at a normal time, which is why we like to be accessible to you anytime that you're available. So you can listen to our show on any, on like Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on our website. So it's like, yeah, maybe you aren't awake at 6 a.m. anymore because your Zoom meeting is at 9 a.m. But like you can still experience us from wherever. Yeah.
So let's talk about a typical day, and let's probably start at what time you get up every day. It's 3:30, I think you told me. So let's talk a little about what is a normal day for you and how do you decide what you're going to talk about?
Okay.
Jessica.
basically, both of us wake up around like 3 to 3:30 in the morning. And we come to work and it's funny. And I think we're at an advantage too, because we're friends, like whether he likes to admit it or not.
No, I think we're friends. I'm just not quite sure we're best friends. That's the big debate.
We are best friends. And like, it's so natural for us because, so honestly, when you're listening to the show, you're listening to an organic, genuine conversation that we would have. The way that we prep for the show every single night. We FaceTime. We're constantly talking all day. We FaceTime, like, what'd you do today? This. What'd you do today? This. Like, what annoyed you today? This. Like, and we're like venting to each other about what we're going through, and then we just bring that to the air the next day. So we do a show.
The show never really stops. Is what we say. Like, we may be on the air from 6 to 10, but the show really, between social media and the podcast, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going all day long. Which it's fun to be able to share your life, but does it get a little tiring? Like, my head hits the pillow at night, I'm like, okay, and then wake back up and let's do it again.
Yeah.
What show are we doing right now? Where are we? What are we doing?
So is Starbucks open at 3:30?
No, Dunkin's open at 6, and we can Uber Eats that in sometimes.
Multiple times a week. We treat ourselves, and luckily, I don't even want to tell you how many cups of coffee I have every morning, but it's okay.
So let's talk a little bit about, you're working on a companion podcast to go along with the radio show. When is that launching, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
So it's already launched. We got 8 episodes in on that. It's called the Kramer and Jess Uncensored Podcast. And it's completely different than the radio show because there's no restrictions. It's not, when we say uncensored, it's not just because we can say bad words, which technically I guess we can, but it's completely, it's just like any other podcast. We're trying to also be in that space, but not just be a radio show, but we can all open up in a lot of different ways that we don't have to think about. Radio's got so many restrictions to it, which is good because people's listening habits are different. With podcasting, it's a completely different realm, right?
Yeah.
People are listening to those long form. They can pause them, they can come back to them. They can open up. You can get a little bit deeper on a podcast than you probably can in the 4 minutes you may be on before you got to play another record.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different way to experience and to be able to connect with, I don't want you, maybe take the radio show deeper and then connect to an audience that may not even come to the radio anymore.
Right.
So let's share some of your final thoughts. Any parting thoughts about the show and any message for the radio listeners of Baltimore?
I think we're just really excited to be here. And I think we're super grateful for those that have given us a shot. We're not from here and we don't claim to be, but we're trying to learn it as fast as possible. And this city has been so welcoming and just teaching us everything. Just like, hey, tell us about this, tell us about this, tell us about that. Because we do want to like be the next big radio show in this city. And we just appreciate anybody that's kind of given us a chance and come and listen for a couple of minutes or follow us on social media or maybe have checked out the podcast because it's just cool. It's been a cool, warm welcome, which I know is kind of a reoccurring theme throughout this whole, presentation with you.
I think too, with everything that's going on in the world, we feel so separated from each other. So we just want to be a place where you feel like you have somebody there, which is why, like I said before, why we're so open, why we share so much of our lives with you. So we want to be a place, a sense of home, because we are here in Baltimore and we're just so thankful to be here more than anything.
Yeah, truly.
Well, I just want to thank you. Of my 300 interviews I've done, you by far are the funnest interviews I've done to date.
Wow, that means a lot.
You're our favorite one too.
Yeah.
You're our favorite, to be honest.
I don't think any more boring CEOs anymore.
Right.
You
Whenever you get a break from that, come back to us. We know nothing about how to run a business.
Yeah,
but,
we don't know anything.
We can have fun.
Best of luck and thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.